Is Apple lying about the iPhone 14? Despite their seemingly perfect track record, the truth is Apple cannot always be trusted. In fact, they have lied to us over and over again over the years, which sort of makes you think, what could they be up to now? Let's break down some of Apple's biggest lies ever, 7 or 8 of the biggest ones I can think of that definitely got them some negative media buzz, and also examine if they could be lying to us again, but this time about the iPhone 14. And a huge thanks to Lumina for sponsoring this video. Look, love Apple or hate them, I think we can all agree that the company makes some incredible products, and they have not only sort of changed the tech world as we know it, but also changed the world. Steve Jobs did put a ding in the universe, and Apple has made the impossible seemingly possible. They have done things that others have said just could not be done, and they've not just done it once or twice, but over and over and over again. It always seems like Apple gets it right, and they never seem to get it wrong. That is until, well, they sort of do. Case in point here is with the show-stopping iPhone X from 2017. This was a monumental announcement, one of the biggest Apple announcements, at least in modern history, that was the culmination of years and years of work. So many Apple employees worked tirelessly to bring us all new technology, this Face ID system, no home button, this radically new design. The iPhone X was, and still is, a really amazing iPhone. But that moment in Apple history, that event, will always sort of be tarnished because of this moment.
We call it air power.
AirPower remains, to this day, sort of a blotch in Apple's pearly white track record. They never seem to get it wrong, but when they do, it makes headlines over and over again for years and years, and even makes it into videos like this one. And I think that first off, we have to admire Apple's ambitious plans with AirPower. This was going to be a really, for lack of a better word, revolutionary wireless charger, but AirPower didn't actually happen, despite Phil Schiller saying this.
This is not possible with current standards, but our team knows how to do this.
We have heard some recent rumors that Apple is working to introduce AirPower yet again, or at least some form or more modern version of AirPower in the next few years, and maybe time does heal all wounds, and this could be one of Apple's greatest comeback stories by bringing AirPower back to us in a new form sometime in the next few years. Now, this next example is probably not a flat-out lie, but you tell me, judge for yourself if Craig is being truthful here or not.
How's the software going in the mixed reality headset?
I don't know anything about what you're talking about.
Now, shout out to Joanna Stern over at the Wall Street Journal for even daring to ask this question, because I'm sure Apple PR was not happy about this at all. We have heard sort of off the record that there are some do's and don'ts with Apple interviews, and you're never supposed to ask about unreleased Apple products, and she sort of broke the rules and did just that to Air Force One himself. Now, despite what Craig might be saying, we have heard now multiple different reports that Apple is in fact working on this headset, this mixed reality AR/VR headset that is going to deliver this totally new software experience. It's going to have an app store. It's going to have a new way for you to take FaceTime calls, interact with friends, play games. It's supposed to sort of change everything, and we should see a glimpse of it sometime, hopefully this year, before the end of the year, here in 2022. And that scenario is actually very similar to this other moment in 2003 with Steve Jobs. This was around the time that everyone was going gaga over tablets, not these tablets, but those tablets. Bill Gates and Microsoft were touting the future of mobile computing and Windows tablet operating systems. And it was also around this time that Steve Jobs was asked point blank in this interview if Apple was working on a tablet.
So let's just start with, say, a tablet. Are you going to make a tablet? What do you think about the tablet?
No plans at the current time to make a tablet, no.
Of course, we know now that that was simply not true. That in fact, at that time that Steve Jobs said those words, Apple behind the scenes was aggressively working, conceptualizing, and testing what would ultimately become their first tablet. And thanks to that moment, 7 years later, the iPad was born. Now, there was another moment in modern Apple history that, if it was true, would have changed everything. And I can't really fault Apple to this because it was sort of out of their control, but for those who don't remember, back in 2010 with the introduction of the iPhone 4 and FaceTime, Steve Jobs said that FaceTime was going to become an open industry standard that wouldn't just be held by Apple, but would be used by Windows Phone, Android, basically anyone who wanted it could use FaceTime on their own devices. But as it stands right now in 2022, obviously that's not the case. You can only use FaceTime officially on your iPhone and other Apple devices, though I guess technically now it's sort of on Android through the web interface, but that's another story for another day. Again, this is not ultimately Apple's fault because it was, like a lot of things in the tech world, something that came down to legal issues, patent infringements, and ultimately a lot of lawsuits prevented Apple from opening up FaceTime as it was back in 2010 to becoming an open industry standard. So Apple, I guess, sorta kinda lied, but not really their fault. Now, this next lie is another one from Steve Jobs that is a bit less forgivable, and that was, of course, the iPhone 4 death grip debacle from 2010. The iPhone 4 was an amazing phone, but it had a fatal flaw. That was, if you held it in a certain way, a very common way, and you restricted its antenna band, the phone would rapidly lose signal and ultimately drop a call if you're on one, or basically just lose service altogether. This led to the whole "you're holding it wrong" fiasco, which is really Steve Jobs just saying avoid holding it in that way. But the truth of the matter was, it was sort of inevitable. You were going to hold your phone that way. That was just a common way to hold the phone. And this was not a software issue like Apple tried to imply it was. It was just a design flaw. Apple, for one reason or another, didn't catch this in their testing, and the iPhone 4 had a very big PR issue on its hands. And you could tell from this moment, from a rare Steve Jobs apology, a special event, that he was seething with anger and wanted to do anything else but be up there on stage. Another bit of a controversial moment in Apple's modern history was the removal of the headphone jack back with the introduction of the iPhone 7. Phil Schiller said that Apple did this move in part because of courage.
I'm going to give you three of them, but it really comes down to one word: courage. The courage to move on, do something new that betters all of us. And our team has tremendous courage.
Now, it's still debated to this day whether this was a courageous move from Apple in an effort to move the industry forward and really push for more innovation, or if this was just for Apple to conveniently sell the AirPods they also had introduced at that event right alongside the iPhone 7. That was their new completely wireless earbud solution. I don't know if you have an opinion one way or the other. Let me know in the comments down below, but I'm not sure if that was really a courageous move. Yes, Apple has definitely done a lot for innovation in this space, especially with USB-C on the MacBook Pro. They really sort of pushed others to adopt that, and Apple really has a way of sort of setting a trend and others follow. But I'm not sure if the removal of the headphone jack was really all that courageous, or just more of a savvy business move, as Apple was working on new products that they didn't want to include the headphone jack on. Now, before we continue with more of Apple's less than truthful moments over the years, I want to take a quick break and show off an awesome product made by this video's sponsor, Lumina. Now, there's a good chance that these days you're doing a lot more video calls than you've ever done before, and it can be tough to make yourself look good on that call. You've got to get the right lighting, the right framing. There has got to be a better way. And luckily, there is. Let me introduce you to Lumina. This is the world's first AI-powered 4K webcam that effortlessly makes you look good. With premium hardware and incredibly advanced software, this totally takes the guesswork out of all those video calls. Hardware-wise, the Lumina is super sleek. It's in an aerospace aluminum body with the camera, dual microphones, and LED indicators on the front, and a USB-C port on the back for super simple connectivity. But the magic here, though, is really with the Lumina software, and it's harnessing the latest advancements in computer vision and AI to dramatically and automatically make you look really good on those video calls, and also do it at any time of the day and also in any setting. What's awesome is that the software allows you to be really as granular as you want to be. But if you want to keep things simple and stick in auto mode, Lumina will automatically adapt to your surroundings and change the proper settings to ensure you always look your best. And the built-in AI can adjust the look of the image, it can automatically track you and keep you in frame. Maybe you're doing a show and tell, it's got you covered, and allows you to add and adjust this really cool background blur that lets you sort of have the look of this DSLR Pro camera without having to shell out tons and tons of money. If you guys want to check it out for yourself today and learn more, click the link right down below. And if you go through our special link and use the coupon code TAC, you can get 30% off from today until April 30th. So again, learn more, check it out for yourself today at the link down below, and use the coupon code TAC to save 30% off from today until April 30th. So now when it comes to modern Apple in 2022, as we sort of look ahead at the year and look at the new Macs and iPhones and iPads launching, what is Apple sort of telling us that probably isn't really the whole truth? I think one example of something that Apple is pushing now that probably really isn't the truth anymore is the superiority of the Lightning connector. The Lightning connector was actually introduced back with the iPhone 5 almost 10 years ago, and it was introduced as this connector that was more modern and would pave the way for Apple for the next decade in the future. We're now in the future now, 10 years later, and Apple still seemingly has no plans to drop the Lightning connector. And I think what's most frustrating about this is that USB-C has become not just the de facto port on every other phone seemingly on the market, but also Apple puts it in a bunch of their other devices. It's obviously on their computers, but it's also on most of their iPads. They've adopted USB-C and sort of flaunted the superiority of USB-C when it is convenient for them as sort of one cable to rule them all. But when it comes to the iPhone, mum's the word on USB-C, and Lightning just sort of seems to be the way to go for them for a number of different reasons. Some think that Apple is working on a portless iPhone, so they don't want to switch to USB-C and then switch away to no port just a few years later, or that Apple just makes so much money with the Made for iPhone program and licensing Lightning accessories that it's just too much money on the table to give up, so because of that, Lightning will remain. And I'm not sure which way it is, but even as an Apple fan, I can say that I would love to see USB-C come to the iPhone, but I just don't think that's actually ever going to happen. Something else I have seen in the comments section on videos over and over and over again is that Apple is lying to our faces, and they not only know about the leaks, but they are supplying the leaks themselves. Yes, some believe that Apple is leaking the info on the iPhone 14, new redesigned Macs, and other products themselves in an effort to sort of drum up hype and excitement for what is coming next and sort of divert attention away from Google, Samsung, and any other company in the tech space. And I guess on one hand, I sort of get the idea of this, that if Apple sort of drops their own leaks sporadically throughout the year, that they're always sort of able to keep this excitement up. They're always able to sort of get people talking and chattering and getting excited for what could be coming next. But I also see a lot of reasons that this doesn't make sense for Apple. One is that a lot of times rumors overhype a product, and when Apple actually launches it, people are disappointed. Case in point, like with the iPhone 13 from last year, and many thought we were gonna see satellite connectivity built in. We thought we were gonna get Touch ID under the display. We thought the Apple Watch Series 7 was going to get a huge radical redesign, and none of that actually happened. If Apple was planning the leaks themselves on those products, then they sort of undercut themselves and sort of disappointed a lot of us who thought those leaks were going to be true. So I'm curious, what are your guys' thoughts on all this? What do you think are the biggest lies surrounding the iPhone 14 right now? What do you think Apple is going to do, what they're not going to do? And what's your favorite less than pristine Apple moment over the years? Do you think Apple flat out lies on purpose? Do you think they do it because they don't want to spoil the fun? Or do you think that sometimes things just happen and Apple does not want to get caught in the crossfire of bad PR? Let me know your thoughts on all this stuff down below. As always, thank you guys so much for watching the Apple Circle. I really appreciate it. I'm Robert Rosenfeld, and I'll see you all in the next one.